years in Kansas City, that was very good, but Texas is good, but Tennessee in my mind wins. They know how to smoke it there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, even eating in the airport in Nashville was delicious the last time I was down there.
You know, it's a little bit like here, but even more so in that, in terms of, forget the food for a moment, but they're just the view that you always, there's just green everywhere you look there. Just about everywhere you are, you can look up and find green space. Very soothing. And just I like to think that people are generally the same all over, but they do seem to be a little more friendly there. They
Yeah.
just take things a little easier.
That is true. Nice and enjoyable.
Yeah, it was a fast-paced day and a half or 2 days, but drove about halfway through the state. And
Wow.
then I was in North Carolina too. So then I was also in Asheville, North Carolina for a day also.
Gotcha. Go. We'll give everybody one more minute to pop on here and then we'll get started.
Yeah.
Kristen killed my video.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Ta-da. Like, I know I should be there somewhere,
She's got the power now. Look out.
right? Like, I'm getting scared already. Technology is our friend.
Most days.
Correct. It's usually how it goes.
I'm doing a lot with AI these days, more than I ever would have anticipated. It's coming on so fast. Yeah.
Technology is our friend. Technology is our friend. So, all right. Well, we are 5 after, so I think we will get started and people can chime in and ask for a recording later. We will email this out to all of you that are on the call and those that
Good deal.
missed the live. So we will definitely send this out via email. It does take a little bit of time after the Zoom ends for the cloud to do its thing and technology to catch up. So be patient. We will get something out to you as soon as possible. So without further ado, we have Mr. Robert Van Craenenbroeck with us. He has written a book. He came and spoke at the Owners of Dog Daycare conference. So his thought processes, his ideas, his concepts around culture are phenomenal. I've been implementing them every time we speak. I get new nuggets of information. So I felt it was important to have a chat. Rob and I were chatting about how you can't just put up the sign anymore that says we're hiring and expect to get quality people. That the ship has sailed and we need to rethink that process. So hoping to go through that piece of it. Once you get the person applying, how do we get them in the door? How do we keep them engaged? What's our follow-up? And all of that attributes to our culture in our businesses. So without further ado, Mr. Rob, take the mic. It's all on you.
Okay, well, we'll throw up the PowerPoint here, and thank you everyone for joining. And certainly feel free, if you want to just yell out if you do have a question at any point, feel free to. You don't have to wait for a turn or anything. Just jump in with a question anytime. We'll certainly make. I think you have plenty of time, Eve, right at the end for if there's questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if there's something that you're not sure if we're going to touch on, you can always put it in the chat. We have Miss Kristen monitoring our chat, so she will read off questions at the end as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, and then, again, first of all, congratulations to all you for taking the time to invest in yourself, because so many don't do that. And you're going to be a better leader for it, a better business person, have a more successful business because you're doing that. So, so good for you for doing that. And Thank you, Eve, for I know you want to do more than just help them grow their business, and just to further the care of our furry friends also, because I know that's always been a passion of you for the 20 plus years I know of you, but also to make everyone's business here a more sustainable business, right? And also make it a more workable business from the standpoint of so you can have some balance in your life as well. That's always a message, even if it isn't the main message, I try and sneak in there because it is so important not to burn yourself out, because you're probably to some extent living your dream of having been an entrepreneur and a successful one. But if you have nothing else, and it's consuming you, well, then it's a little less of a dream than maybe what you wanted. So let's make sure that we can enjoy the dream and all your hard work, and you're able to feel that success each day when you go home, or at least many more days than not, right? So I'll let Kristen, if she's going to pull that up, that would be great. And we'll get that started then, and we'll go right into the first slide here. Awesome. Starting to share, should pop up here in a minute. Great. So we're going to be looking at evaluating, retaining talent, developing. How do you actually get that talent in the door? Like Eve said before, most companies, the good news for everyone here on the call, the good news is most of your competitors are doing it wrong. So in an era where talent is so hard to get, I think you'll leave here with a couple fairly simple things, but if you'll actually go after them and do these things, you will find you will increase the amount of people that are interested in coming to work for you, because I'm sure you have probably better than most places a more conducive workforce, where they're probably in a more conducive workplace where they'll want to be anyway. So we'll go to the next slide here right away. Delay there, huh? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go back for just 1 second here. So when we look at hiring, if you kind of go back to when you started your business and you think about that, when you're kind of in the mode that you knew you were going to do the business, you had your vision, you probably mostly pictured what your building would look like, the interactions with our furry friends and things of that nature. But somewhere, maybe not as much time as you maybe we should have, but somewhere there you probably pictured what that interaction was between your customers and yourself, and customers and maybe your workforce, right? So we need to kind of go back to that vision and say, who did you really want working for you? And are the people today who you have working for you, those people? Some cases, and most likely, some cases yes, in some cases not. So the good news is, I don't think you have to hire a lot of the, quote, not to be demeaning, but typical people that are out there. The person that wants to go work at, and there's nothing wrong with this, go work at Subway or McDonald's or Burger King or deliver pizza or bagging groceries, right? You have a pull-in that is, I think, a lot stronger than those places. Let's face it, we love our pets in this country, right? And people would, I know personally, if I was growing up, I mean, I was always dreaming when I was about 11 or 12, I was going to work at the pet store up the street. Unfortunately, it closed before I got to be a little bit older. By 13, I ended up working at a sporting goods store. That was a dream. I love that too. But I always thought I was going to work in that pet store, right? I didn't want to have to go bag groceries. I didn't want to be a busboy, right? I would much rather have done that. So with that in mind, think about who would want to work there, because I think you naturally, inherently have a greater magnetic pull, if you will, for people than most of those other businesses that I just mentioned do, right? So think about who do you want working for you. Now, that may depend on the role in the organization, right? Because maybe you have people that do every facet of the business. In a small business, that's common. They might wait on a customer. They might be cleaning up a cage in the back. They might be doing something else where they might be walking the dog later on. So you may have a couple of different, you like people to be able to do everything, and some of them probably will, but some of them, maybe you have to parcel it out and say, this person is really maybe not as personable as I'd like, but seems very diligent, seems to care for the animals. They're maybe working the back end of your business, or at least what I would call the back end of your business. But if you can get those people that are personable, and you can have them work more of the front end of the business to the extent that that's possible, think about that too. So really think about what you need when you're hiring that person. All of them, of course, should be an animal lover, right? And somebody who can, at least for a while, work independent. Because what you don't want to do is put yourself in a position where you're constantly running from person to person to assign tasks. You might have to do that at periods in time, but that's not how you want to live, right? That's not how you want to be every day. So because we don't want to be a prisoner to our own employees there, where we have to make sure that we're checking on them every few minutes, because then your work is backing up, right? And then you can't take your business to maybe where it wants to go because you're in survival mode. So we want to get away from that and get at least a portion of your workforce that can work very independently. So the message here is just to know who you really want and what you're willing to hire for, and try not to lower that standard when you bring them in, because once they're in, you've got them, right? And they're going to impact the rest of your workforce, whether they're a good employee or a bad employee, right? So begin with that end in mind. Who do you want to bring in? What do you want out of that person? What role can they play? Ask yourself those really important questions. So we'll go to the next slide. And in this slide, what we'll do is we'll start to look at what I'm going to ask you to kind of stop doing and what we'd like you to start doing from an advertising perspective to bring the right people into your business. Might be a little slow on the slide here, huh?
Kristen, I think she needs to hit the button. Are we sharing your screen, Rob, or her screen?
Her screen.
Oh, yeah, then that would be why.
Yep.
There we
go. So here's what we want to do is we want to make sure that your ads versus their ads. Most people are putting in their advertisement, they're putting competitive wages, which sounds fine, really. There's nothing wrong with it. But the message that sends is that when you say you're competitive, it means you're really incredibly average. You're just incredibly average. So why would somebody want to work for somebody who's incredibly average, right?
Oh, I love that. We're incredibly average.
Yeah, but please come here, but you should come here. We're like everybody else, but you should work here. So it doesn't quite work that way. So if we're going to do this kind of thing, let's do it the right way, and let's get a leg up on everybody else. So the other things people will put, fast food is famous for this, or retail, right? Flexible hours. Nothing wrong with that. To some people that works, right? But there's a better way to articulate that as well. And the other sign I see a lot is we're hiring. Yeah, no kidding. So is everybody else, right? So again, if there's not a message as to why, I don't even know why you'd put the banner out there. For me, one of the things I did at my last employer was I put down that we're celebrating 130 people, grand larger scenario, 130 people that have 10 years or more tenure with our company. Would you like to come celebrate with us? It's a different message completely. And in 2 days, the applicant flow, just skyrocketed, right? So your message matters as long as you deliver on that promise, right? So I'd rather you stop doing those things because they're of minimal value to you, probably is some value, but minimal. And I'd rather you, for the same energy, the same amount of cost, right? Start doing something that says calling all animal lovers, right? You're immediately going to get their attention, right? And you can relate, you either are or you aren't, right? And if you are, you're interested in the reading their list. You just are. And talk about what a message it would send to somebody to say, design your own work schedule. That doesn't mean that they're actually going to come in and just write their own schedule and say, this is when I'm going to work, Eve, right? I'm going to work these hours on Monday, Wednesday. I'm never working weekends because I don't want to do that, right? They're not doing that. But you're giving them an opportunity to dialogue with you about that and say, can we meet each other's hours? Maybe you have a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday evening hours that you need somebody, but they can only work 2 out of the 3. That still might be a good catch for you. So the point is to sit down and have the dialogue and know that they can come in. They know that they can come in and have a dialogue and not just be handed a standard schedule. And it allows them to maybe shape it around their schoolwork or something of that nature, or perhaps they have another job. So allowing them the concept of coming in to design with you those hours becomes lucrative and becomes another reason to visit your place of employment as opposed to somebody else's. The other thing I would talk about is working and learning. we don't want to just work at a job. We'd rather learn something while we're there. And if we can do that amongst friends or people that we want to hang out with, right? And the one thing you know is everyone probably not working there if they don't like dogs, right? They're not coming there. So you know you have something in common with everybody else there. So that's a good place to start, work and learn with friends, or put friend. These are just a couple of examples, right? Or friends with a common interest, right? We all love dogs. Do you love dogs? Those kind of things are the things we should be working on. And if you send that message out, I think you're going to find you're a lot stronger in terms of not only the amount of people you bring in, but who you bring in, and that'll be conducive to your workforce. Okay. Any questions or thoughts on that? And then we'll go one step further. We'll go to the next slide though, either way, Kristen, if you could.
Yeah, I really like that idea of design your work schedule to open up that conversation, because so many times people, I'm going to use McDonald's as an example, right? They're going to, they'll have on their hiring morning, 6 to 10 or something like that. Or just hiring mornings versus evenings. That varies depending on the hours that you're open and available.
Yeah, not only that, but the worker probably, if they're in school, their hours are going to probably change too, right? So you start that dialogue of saying, we need to meet the needs of the business and we'll try and meet your needs as well. Clearly, you're not going to give them carte blanche, but so a couple other slides did pull up here. These are ones I wanted to show you. If you were going to do a billboard or something like that, actually, if you could go back one again, sorry, Kristen, yeah, and hold on for just a second, because these didn't appear before. But so if you're going to do a billboard or something like that, or a banner you can have made out in front of your location, depending on the traffic flow you get there. But look at signs like this: love animals, us too. How about getting paid to love them, right? Who wouldn't want to do that? I mean, that's a lot stronger, a lot more inviting than now hiring, and your company name there, right? The fact that you say, hey, we appreciate our employees. If you'd like to be appreciated, you're invited, and you got the puppies on there and things like that, you're going to get looks. And the other thing I think you're going to get out of this, it's going to promote your business very well also, right? And it promotes a friendliness about it. And it sends a message to people, are you ready, your customers, that you're hiring the right kind of people, right? You're hiring people who care about their loved one, their extended family. I know that's how I feel about my pets, right? Even though Maya's 16 years old and Arnie's 13 and she sees him every month. And when I travel, and I think when the kids come home from, my oldest son lives in Minneapolis, and he comes home and the first thing he does is say hello to Arnie and Maya, right? It ain't dad, right? So I truly believe that's really why he comes home. It isn't to see me, it's to see the dogs, right? So he misses the dogs. So let's play on that. Let's use that. It's an inherent advantage you have in your business, and let's exploit that positively. Okay. So we'll go to the next slide then, Kristen. Thank you, Kristen, by the way, for doing this slide. What we'll start to look at then is building testimonials, right? So if you could get some of your employees to say, I like working here, gives you another option of how you advertise, and maybe you rotate your advertising in this depending on your budget and what you like and what works for you. But if somebody in your company already can tell you, I like working here because of this, that would be a great thing to have, right? And maybe you just put their first name or something. Of course, you don't, for a lot of reasons these days, somebody, you have a quote of somebody said, this is the most fun I've had at company, this, or the best company I've ever worked for, or come work with me as we take care of our furry friends. So get creative with that. This industry just lends itself to that. And it's such an emotional connection you have, which is powerful. And Subway doesn't have that. Burger King doesn't have it. Your grocery store doesn't have it. You have it. So definitely exploit that in your advertising. That's where you're going to go pull people in. So it's leverage that to the maximum you possibly can. It's a huge advantage. So I think you get my point here. But if you can get testimony from your rock stars, and they're willing to say that, along with some of the graphics we just saw before, you've got powerful things that start to work for you.
So Rob, if a lot of us place ads out on Indeed, so would we want to put this testimonial at the top of that Indeed ad or at the bottom of the Indeed ad?
I would recommend you do a little something on each. I would put a little something like this. I would probably put what we looked at before and what we might go on the billboards first, but I would put this at the bottom of it, because if they read through it and they're still interested in that ad and what you put out there, and I would keep that pretty succinct, by the way, so that's a really good point to bring up, then I would put this at the bottom, that, you know, Eve has been working with us for 2 years, and, you know, she's made numerous friends here, and I love every day I work here, right? Bam, it's powerful, right? It finishes that said, my peer, somebody like me, is working there and doing well and feeling good about it, right? So use the first part to pull them in there to capture their interest. The other piece kind of solidifies it and is the close, just like you were doing a sales call, right? Just like you were doing
Okay.
sales. So, so be sure and use that. But that's a really great question. And do, when you're posting Indeed, don't get too detailed. Couple really fun things that they're going to do, right? Probably got to put in the worst thing they'll have to do, but every business has a worst thing, right? But then put around it who you're going to work with and what's the benefit to them, not just what you need, what's the benefit to them working there. I'll guarantee, and I've said this before in some of these webinars that we've done and in Vegas, that you're probably giving them more knowledge than you realize. You're giving them an education. They're learning about entrepreneurship, which is probably one of the few things, one of the most coveted things in this country is being an entrepreneur. It is one of the most ways to be, quote, admired. People who are entrepreneurs. You are entrepreneurs. You have the ability to educate them too. But tell them you're educating them. If they ever want to run a business on their own, show them a little, give them a little insight into your business, maybe to those top couple employees that you might not for other employees. That's that engagement factor, because you not only got to pull them in, but you got to keep them, right? Because you made an investment in them. You've trained them and that cost you money. Let's get the ROI on that. Let's make sure they stay, okay? We want the right people to stay. So we'll go to the next slide, but really great point, Eve. So who are we hiring, right? So we start to get these people, we got a little more velocity, a little more volume of people coming our way now, because we've altered some of our advertising, be it on Indeed, locally in the community, things of that nature. Some of you may have seen a slide like this before where I talk about believers and non-believers. What I really mean about that is that your believers are people who really believe in your mission and what you're doing, that you're caring for a pet that is not just a pet, but an extended member of somebody's family. That's the reality. At least that's, again, the way I view our pets, right? So to me, your caring for that is vastly different, and you need that certain level of person. You need someone who really believes in that, wants to be there, wants to care for those dogs. So because you, as an owner, and that are being entrusted by your clients and your customers, right? And there's a level of intimacy that's there that is not there in other places of business of your size, right? They just aren't, because it's like being at a care center, right? Of a hospital or something like that. I would equate it to. This is really important. People need to have that security feeling that when they drop their pet off and they go for the day or for the weekend to be away, they want to know the right people are taken care of. So you want to hire believers, and you judge that by, first of all, you filter it by attracting the right people, like we talked about. But secondly, asking about it, seeing them interact with the dogs, right? I'm sure Eve, you probably do some of that today, right? You walk them through. We don't just sit them in a room, interview them, and go on, right? You walk them through the facility and see how they react, right? How do they interact with other employees? So, and you want to start getting people of like mind. Doesn't mean we all have to be the same, right? So we're all little like snowflakes, right? We're not all the same. But by the same token, we want people who believe the same, right? Who care the same about the animals. And you have to take a look at it. Because if you look at the graphic here, 20% of the people, right, are pulling the right way in most organizations. 20% are actually intentionally going the wrong way. They don't like where they're at, but they're not moving on. 60% undecided. We've got to retrain and refocus that 60%. We got to get 20% to exit and get the right 20 in. Because the reality is that negative 20 is going to impact the rest. And we can't let that happen, right? Service goes down, your business goes down. We don't want that to happen. So it might be a little longer process to hire just believers. Once in a while, one will get in that shouldn't. But if you really concentrate about that way, you'll be better off, because hire 3 people might feel good in the day. But if 2 out of the 3 aren't believers, they're going to give you more angst than you want, right? They're going to give you more angst and problems down the road. So we don't
Bad
want
apples always ruin the barrel.
Yeah, exactly. So, so talk about this in your interview and what makes your business special, right? Communicate that to people. Let them feel your emotion. Be a little vulnerable with them and say, you know, I've poured my heart and soul into this business because I believe in this and the care for animals and what this means to the community, what I can put back in the community. Talk to them about that. Tap into that, right? Again, they can't have that conversation with people at Burger King. They just can't, right? They're not having that conversation at Walgreens about people. They're just not having those. You get to have that conversation. You have such an advantage there. I'll use this term probably again before the night's over, but exploit it, exploit it, exploit it. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so how do we find out? Because sometimes it's difficult, and hopefully you're not there every hour that business is operating, right? Which is almost every hour of the week, right?
Not anymore. I promise,
Okay.
not anymore.
Okay. Well, I try not to call Eve out on all these, but now she's it's self-incrimination. So yes, even I've had many conversations about that over the years, many conversations. So think about your new hires too, and people who are currently in your business today. How would they treat a new hire? Are they good ambassadors for your business? Another way to think about it, you know, obviously, are they positive people? But are they the people that dwell on the one thing that went wrong that day and they can't let go of it? So you got to try and help them away from that because you've made some investment in them, but you can only work that for so long. At some point, you have to realize that they're not necessarily rowing the right direction, and you have to make some decision. So again, going back to that mission, Eve and I worked together in the past, right? And we worked at an education place, Kaplan, right? Because we both believe and value education a great deal, right? I worked at a credit union thereafter because I believed that they served the underserved, people who couldn't otherwise get credit. And I believed in that mission wholeheartedly, that everyone should have the right to be able to get credit. So for me, that was an important part of me joining that firm. So how we evaluate people, discover who's rowing the right direction on us. Let's put the greatest weight on people's behaviors, not what they say. What they say is important, but behavior really matters and shows you kind of who they really are. So what's the quality of their work when they're not supervised? When they don't have eyes on them, what's going on? Are they cutting corners or not? And I use a term a lot about building relationship equity. And if you build relationships with people, they won't want to disappoint you. In fact, so much so that they'll give you a discretionary effort. The effort is, I'm doing the same job or even better when you're not looking for me because I want to show you that I'm loyal to you. That's when you really hit the nail on the head, right? So think about that. Think about, is that person interacting with your client well? I call Eve probably every other time I board the dogs there about the same young lady because she continues to amaze me and I never get tired of it and I never get tired of complimenting her. She is amazing. And I always forget her name, by the way. But I can picture her. And she's so excited
It's
to see.
Marissa.
Okay,
It's
Marissa, thank you. And I should write that down. And Marissa is so excited to see my dogs and just makes me feel really assured that those dogs are getting top-notch care, right? And when she gives me, you know, the doggy report, right? At the end, when I come pick up the dogs, she doesn't hand it to me. She explains it to me and she tells me things that she saw and experienced. And there's just nothing more could make me more comfortable there, right? She is just awesome. We want more Marissas in all your businesses. So the other thing is, how do they treat new hires? Are they immediately negative new hires? Well, here's what I don't like about this. Oh, when you get here, you're going to find out it's this. If they go right to the negative, these are people we got to take a look at, right? Because they're killing you. They're killing you behind your back. So you want people that will welcome new hires, make them feel good. Doesn't mean we have to hire some of the tough jobs. You got tough jobs you got to do there, right? And some of them are unpleasant. But you want people who can be generally positive about it and say, look at all the good that we do, especially when you probably treat them so well and do good things for them, right? So again, worth repeating, do they understand and believe in your mission and what you're doing? And hopefully you can articulate that mission in a sentence or two to them. And hopefully you also have that published and posted in your area so that you can always reference that mission to the point where almost everybody not necessarily memorizes it, but can articulate it in their own words. It's really important that they can do that. So the 4 big questions I have for you tonight in this respect, if you will, is can the current employees here, can they answer to you why they like working for your company sincerely? Not just give you something they like, but why they really feel they work there. Not because they get to do one thing. I get to be with dogs all day. That's too easy, right? You want a little deeper, right? You want a deeper. I really enjoy the way we care for dogs. I think we do a really good job. I know Eve is always talking about the cleanliness of her place. It's got to be clean, right? I talked to her the other night and she's, oh, I'm disinfecting, right? It's pretty late at night, but he was there doing it. So I know you're only doing so well on that time management thing, but are they passionate about that? Can they do that? Will they give you, do you believe, a discretionary effort? Or is it something that you hear from the other employee, boy, they only did this, they kind of cut corners, right? Would your employees recommend your company as a referral? That's a big one. That's a big one. If they're recommending you, then the odds are they feel pretty good about it. Okay. So, and hopefully you have some of those referrals, because that's one of the best way to get people. I think you probably all know that already. And you might even do a referral bonus or something like that down the road for employees as well. Refer them, maybe you give them $100 if they stay 30 days or more, 60 days or more, you pay them the $100 in this, right? So that's another way also to recruit people. So, but
So Rob, have you
yes.
found that it's beneficial to do like a sign-on bonus or more beneficial to do the referral? Or
Referral.
both?
Absolutely, the referral bonus. There's some data that suggests a sign-on bonus helps. Again, I think a lot of people do that already. I'm not in favor of that. My instinct tells me this industry doesn't need that. You have the emotional connection that's far greater. But if you can get in somebody's mind who says, I know somebody who might not be exposed to that banner, that signer isn't looking on Indeed, who's working somewhere else and says, it's okay job, but would love to be there. You can incentivize, and you're rewarding your own people, right? It's one more reason to pay them.
Right.
It's saving you the Indeed money, right? The return on investment is that great. Say, hey, as long as once they're here 30 days, we're going to pay you the 100. It's another reason that person stays, right? So it's a double win there. So I would lean in that way pretty significantly. And the big question though is, when you think about your current employees, think about this. If today you had to do it over and you had a plethora of people to choose from, would you rehire this person? It's going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you a lot. And I would strongly encourage you at some point, sit down, paper and pencil is fine, and discreetly look at all your employees and start to sit there and say, good, 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 good. Well, I got a little things to work on. That's okay. There's always some people in development. But is there one or two that I might be better off without? And I know that's hard because you're trying to cover schedules, things of that nature. I know it's hard. But that's why you want to kind of be in constant recruiting mode, because you never have enough good talent, right? And you can always upgrade. So doesn't mean you always have to be spending money on Indeed, but the banner only costs you once to do it, right? You take it, you put it up for a month, you take it down for a month, you put it up for a month. You don't have it up 12 months a year because it looks like you're never full, right? And that has to be a reason. And maybe you get 2 of them and you change them out a little bit, right? So think about those things. You do need to evaluate your staff though, and you want to make sure that you're doing that in a fairly pragmatic and very objective way. So we'll hit the next slide. We spent a lot of time on
Yeah,
this.
no, Rob, you really hit on some good points. And I was not looking for a second assistant manager. But I had 2 great candidates that applied for a manager at my second location. And one of them was assistant manager at Red Lobster, and Red Lobster's closed.
Yes.
So I asked her nicely. I said, hey, you're used to a lot of hustle and bustle. Would you be willing to come to my other location and be a night manager? She said yes. Again, I that wasn't a position I had available, but I didn't want to let go of good talent when I saw it.
Yeah, and it's a really good point, because you got Walgreens announced closings, right? Retail places are closing because of theft issues, right? They can't keep open. You have JCPenney's that are closing. You have a lot of retail companies over the next 10 to 12 months that are continuing to close. There's got to be 1 or 2 in your area, and it's opening up. So there's a little shift in the available talent, and you want to be ready now with your plan. So be building your plan. One of the things I'm going to kind of challenge you in after this, as we get to a close of this, is do something with the information you receive tonight, and get into full mode by tomorrow, right? be the first one to go after that talent that's out there, right? Get it first. Don't wait to have to bid on it. Don't wait to have to compete with anybody. Go get it. Exploit that difference, right? Exploit that difference. So let's look at a scenario. I'm assuming this will be a realistic scenario for you. So if you determine there's 3 employees that have to go, right? Staffing's already tight. You got to consider, and you guys know this better than I, your schedule coverage gets jeopardized, right? You can't really ask management to work too much more. Maybe they've been covering shifts, or if they haven't been lately, they did a month ago. They covered some shifts for somebody who called in a few times, or there's some person who never showed up that you thought you hired, right? So they're already working probably too much. And even if you get new hires in, well, who's going to train them if I let these people go? I hear that one all the time, and I always wonder, but if those are people you know you want to let go, do you really want them training the people coming in? Because you've just multiplied your problem. You want talent growers and talent multipliers, but you don't want to multiply the wrong talent, right? You definitely don't want to do that. You're just growing your problems, right? So the question is will we take action in this scenario, or are we going to rationalize that we can't do without those 3 people? No doubt it causes stress and strain to do without those, but they're causing you much more by staying. I'll guarantee you they're calling much more. So don't let your problems, devour your mission and devour your business like that, right? Because you feel you can't. Don't let it devour your mission. Don't let it devour your business, and don't let it devour your reputation, right? Because those people will do that to you. Poor interaction with your clients, things of that nature. Other new hires get a wrong impression if they have to be on the shift with some of these people, then it suddenly isn't a great work experience for them. They came there for all the right reasons. They didn't have a good experience themselves. So we'll have to think about it. The thing you have to challenge back then and say, Rob, well, that's really great, real easy for you to say on this call, but I'm still going to be down 3 employees. What do I do? So maybe you can't usher them all out at once, but we got to talk about just that and how do we go through this. So let's talk a little bit about that if we can hit the next slide, Kristen, because we got to give you a little plan of how to make that happen so there isn't so much angst. So we're going to now focus and say, we're going to spin it here, and we're going to say, we're going to work on our culture, right? We're going to work on a culture, and we're going to unleash, no pun intended, your most valuable asset, which is your people. And we're going to make sure that the good people we are exploiting in a good way, right? And really using them to go get that referral, other things for us. But we also have to protect those people from the people who are not positive, that they probably don't want to work with. Because positive people don't want to work with somebody who's not positive, who's negative all the time, right? They don't want to be associated with it. So we'll hit the
Nope,
next
we don't
slide.
need the negative Nancys. We don't need the negative Nancys.
Don't need them. Don't want to go to work. You start driving and thinking about who you got to deal with each day. You don't want to be in that environment, right? Again, you take away the natural lure of your business, which is the wonderful animals that you care for and that you serve, and all the people that are so grateful for you for doing it. I know I am when I go there. So, let's hit the next slide there then, and then we'll talk about just how do we enable that and how we kick that off. So we gave you a scenario, and real easy again on the call to sit there and say, this is how you should deal with it. You're probably dealing it this way, but let's actually give you a solution too. Because a lot of times we'll talk on these calls, and I've been on webinars where they tell me that's wrong, this is what you should do, but they don't really tell me how. So it doesn't do me a whole lot of good, because all it did is make me more frustrated, because now I have the fear I don't have the plan. So let's at least at a high level in the time we have here today, give you a plan. So if you decide the 3 must go, then we got to immediately focus on that and not rationalize that they get to stay, or I can't do it. I would do it, but this. I would do it if only this. I would if she would do this. If only this would happen, I could do the right thing. Don't allow yourself that luxury. Don't allow yourself that rationalization, okay? Your culture is your enable. So let's play the long game here, right? Because otherwise, you're probably making up for tasks they're not completing anyway, and you're working extra hours. I'd rather work 2 or 3 more knowing that there's an end in this sight. This is the beginning of the end in sight. So we decide the 3 must go. First of all, we begin recruiting immediately with the tools that we gave you earlier, right? The different kind of postings that we'll do, the different way, the referrals, all these other pieces. Let's use those effectively. Start those right away. So when you start those right away, remember I said about taking pad and paper and deciding who are the challenges in your business, whether there's 2, 3, 4, you might have to rate them just for your eyes only, but you rate them. Who's got to go first? Maybe you're not in position to say all three have to go, but you got to start getting rid of one. And the good news is, if you determine that it's Rob, Eve, and Kristen are the problems, and you get rid of Rob right away, you may send the message to Kristen, to Eve, that, you know what, she's pretty serious about the mission, pretty serious about how I got to take care of it. I did come here originally liking this job. I got to get back on track. It is a me issue. And you get them turned around, maybe even, right? That would be the best case scenario. So it serves as kind of a wake-up call. But the other thing, going back to it, start recruiting right away. And when you do get them in, try to the extent that you can to cross-train people right away, because flexibility can do a lot to offset a vacancy or an opening right away if you have a staff that's more flexible. So keep that in mind. You probably know that already, but it's good to keep it in your forefront of your mind always. The other thing is, be very, very mindful of who is training your people. Don't give it to Tommy or to Susie if they're or Negative Nancy, right? Let's use that one, right? We don't want Negative Nancy training people. So in fact, we probably have to protect those people from Negative Nancy for a while. So, and maybe it can't be just one person. So if it's Rob training, maybe Rob's only really good with the clients and the guests, but isn't good about his standards and back and cleaning a cage or things like that. So maybe somebody else has to train that piece. And I would even call that you probably want to incentivize those people in some way or shape or form to do that. But most people will be honored to ask to be doing that, and they'll want to do it willingly. I'll guarantee you most will want to do that. So, so this is the plan you got to kind of put in place right away. Determine the fact they got to go, begin recruiting immediately. In the next day or two after that, evaluate the 1, 2, 3 in the order they got to go, right? How soon you can train people up. How much time do you need to train that person to cross-train them well, right? And then begin to determine, you know, who can train them, who's the best to do that, right? And is there a chance to save any one of those three after maybe the first one's gone, and have a conversation with them, with the other two, and saying, I'm serious about what my expectations are. I believed in you once. You used to be, you know, when you first started working, you were top shelf. Today, I don't see those same standards. I'd like to bring that back, that person back, right? What can I do to help you get there? If they can't get there in a reasonable time, you know, we have to give them some career counseling, right? So, okay, we'll hit the next slide then. So a little bit more about your transition plan. So once we get all these people, right, they're now knocking on your door, right? And you're no longer waving them in the door to come in, right? Now they're knocking on your door, asking them to come in, right? Because they've got friends that are coming here. They're excited about your business. So start to structure that onboard training. And to the extent you can, every couple of weeks or so, teach them something new and let them know that they've added one more thing to their skill set, one more thing that they know that they didn't know before. And if you can, really important, and if you can, relate that to any other job they would ever do in their life, right? Whether it's client interaction, whether it's a financial thing, you talk to them about it, they will process then that I'm getting something more out of the job than just the paycheck at the end, right? And that's that engagement piece that starts to happen, right? And you build a relationship with those people. Use job aids where you can to help people out a great deal. Anything we can do to really help people so they can do well. They don't remember everything the first time you explain it, but most people want to do a good job. So if we have some job aids posted around in different areas, what's the standard for cleaning a cage, right? What are the 3 things I do? Maybe my guest interaction. What do I need to do before I check in that dog? Things of that nature. Whatever you can do in terms of job aids. You guys know your business. It'll really help you out a lot. And it'll help the trainers train, because it'll serve as an agenda for them training. Buddy up with people, make sure you introduce them around, and make sure you socialize them within the group so they feel like they're part of the group right away. It doesn't take an awkward time to kind of fit in. And you yourself or your manager, your business, do regular check-ins through the first 30 days with these people. If they only work 4 or 5 days, check in with them every other day for those first week or 2. Make sure there's an engagement. The last business I was in, we had check-in periods of 1 week, 2 weeks, and 4 weeks, 1, 2, and week 4. If we missed any one of those 2 or those 3 check-ins, the turnover rate goes up 42% in that business. That is astronomical. 42% is the difference. Those check-ins, even for 5 or 10 minutes, matter. It may not seem like it, but when they walk away, they think they cared enough to talk to me. They cared enough to ask, right? And they get to know you a little bit. And you don't even have to talk business. It could be 2 minutes of business and 3 minutes of how's school going, or 3 minutes of, how's the trip to Tennessee, Rob, or whatever the case may be. But interact, give them the opportunity, right? So assign them their new coach, ask them how they're doing, ask their coach how they're doing, anything they need clarification on. Try to recognize them. If you have a training period established, which I know some of you did from the Vegas conversations I had with you guys, try and recognize when they kind of not exit the training so much as that they've completed the training. If there's a way you can recognize that, everyone loves that. Doesn't have to be necessarily a reward, but certainly a recognition. But a reward, certainly nice too. And then continue to communicate. Keep talking to these people till they're fully ingrained, engaged in your culture, engaged with your team, and they're feeling a comfort level in the business. So enlist that entire employee community to support that new hire. It's just like a newborn in the family, right? Everyone rushes to see the newborn, and I'll watch the newborn here. I'll watch same kind of concept, right? Sounds crazy, but it's the same concept you want. And you got to commit to the whole plan here. If you're going to do 4 of the 5 or 6 of these or whatever, you're going to struggle. Don't miss any. Each of these are important. Some a little more than others, but try not to skip any of these. It's your commitment, but it'll get you where you want to be in time. So you don't have to stay in this constant mode of who can I get to work here next? Will they show up? We got to get out of that mode. Okay. We'll go to next slide then, Kristen. Thank you. Okay. 4 mind habits here. All right. 4 mind habits here. So I really like this first bullet here. Something I say to people quite a bit, but be a spectator of your own thoughts. So what do I mean by that? That means do not allow yourself to think you're working the problem to when you're working actually the symptom of it, right? Play it back to yourself and say, am I working on the right things? And B, am I really solving it, or am I deflecting it? And I'm doing something, but not attacking the root cause of the issue or the problem, right? So be a spectator of your own thoughts. Get some quiet time for yourself. I know that's challenging to find that time, and ask yourself some really deep questions about that. Am I really doing what I know I can get done, or am I doing what I need to get done? Am I addressing the root cause, or am I addressing something that's a symptom of it? So you don't want to just make things better. Sounds bad, right? Things should be better, right? That doesn't sound bad, right? Let's resolve it, because there's another thing coming your way soon, right? That's just the nature of your business. And it's part of being a leader and a manager. So to the extent you can each time, look to resolve it rather than just make it better. Sometimes maybe just better is good, and that's sufficient. More times than not, let's try and resolve things, and let's put a fix in place. And what is in your realm of influence? More than you probably think. So don't allow to say that this is all the people I can get. This is the best talent I could attract. Don't allow yourself to do that. Invest in people. Know that you're influential. People probably really want to work for you than most people if they only knew more of you and knew more about your business. And we're going to do that with some of the things we talked earlier. We're going to make them more aware of your business, what your business is about, why your business is different, why they should work there as opposed to somewhere else. And then start to really exercise your influence, right? And that might be a different methodology with each person, with each employee a little bit. But most things are within your influence of the business. What's that? Okay. So, and when you can, when we talk about resolving things, if you can, put the stopgap in place to prevent the reoccurrence. Like we talked about with hiring. We don't hire people that don't believe in our mission, that are just looking for a job, and I just need a few bucks after school, things like that. That's probably not our person, okay? If they can't get sensitized, they can't get around your mission and what you're doing, be passionate about taking care of the animals, passionate about giving some comfort to your clients, those probably aren't the people we want. So really keep those habits in mind, and this might even be something that you might want to print and put on your desk, right? And say, I got to keep this in mind until you develop those habits, because habits take a while to develop, as we all know. So we'll hit the next slide, Kristen. Thank you.
Just like going to the gym.
You got it. It's like that, the New Year's resolution, right? I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna work out, and by February, you know, you bought the new piece of equipment, the new rower, the new bike, and by February, you're looking at a place to stash it, right? So you have to stare at it anymore, right? So let's develop those habits. So we want to build, and only you can build the culture that you desire, because you know what it is. We can help you get there. We can give you the guidance to get there, but you have to make the commitment to go there. And it's not easy, and it won't happen in a week or two, right? But once you get it, you'll treasure it, you'll protect it, because your life gets so much better about it. Your business is so much stronger about it. So it's as important as anything else that you do. The CEO of Zappos, if people are familiar with the company Zappos, he talks about if you pay attention to culture, the rest of things tend to take care of themselves. And he's like, because it's the foundation of everything else. It's really the enabler of everything else, is the way I tend to look at it and term it. So it's about purposely creating these behavioral habits, these KBHs, right, that will create and reinforce your desired culture. What's your standard? Reinforce it every day. And every day you walk away from something that isn't to your standard, you're saying that's okay. So set your standard. You don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to be derogatory about it, but you got to be insistent about it, because it means this. Tell them the why. Why is that the standard? Because it means this, or it creates trust in our clients, right? It's a better environment for the animal. It's a safer environment for you and the employees. Whatever the why is, communicate the why, communicate the why. So, okay, Kristen, thank you. So we're going to hire smart. We're going to build relationship equity, which means they feel you're invested in them and you have their best interest in mind. And that's why I want to work there. Again, I worked for Coach's Corner Sports as my first part-time job, and I worked there 5 years. Okay, I worked 5 years there, and I missed one day of work in 5 years. I remember when I called in sick that day, the owner called in and said, I never realized it, but he never called in sick the first 4.5 years. They actually called my parents and said, geez, is he okay? Is he sicker than he's letting on? Or right? So you can, even with part-time, even if it's teenagers, build that relationship equity. Believe me, they look up to you more than you probably realize, and they respect you more. Don't let them down. Have high expectations of them. That's actually what they want. Appreciate them. There's so many different ways. Find things to celebrate. Find things to appreciate them. Reward them. Do it in front of others if you can, even if it's a little embarrassing. For most people, they still feel good about it. They maybe feel like they say no in the moment, but they sure do on the drive home, right? And invest in your employee community, personally and professionally. You have so much to share personally with them. Again, an entrepreneur, you've run successful businesses, how much knowledge you have in it. Maybe they want to start a business and it's not that business, it's something else. Maybe it's a salon they want to start, or a clothing store, right? They still get great value from interacting with you. Share that with them, right? Inspire them. When you're inspiring people and influencing people, that's really great stuff, right? That's all the extra benefit. And I hope you go home feeling good about that you've done that for them. So I always look back and said the best training I ever had in my career was probably working that part-time job for 5 years. Taught me how to sell, taught me how to have standards. He gave me the first time of looking at a profitability statement when I was like 17. It was like, profitability statement, what's that, right? And so, but it stuck with me that you're not in business just to have the fun sports on the shelf, right? You got to make money, right? You got to turn it, right? You got to take care of customers. You got to buy at the right time. All those things. You have so much to offer them. So much to offer them. Share that, share that, share that. So we'll go to the next slide, Kristen.
Yeah, Rob, I think that's super important. I talk to my staff a lot because they don't think about it. Like, I watch the weather, because if we have a couple days of rainy, crappy weather,
Yep.
daycare is going to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what festivals are going on, what, things are going on to the
Right.
lacrosse center, what proms are happening, right? Like, so all the community events, just being aware of that and how that affects our business. And that's always an aha moment for my staff, because they don't think about that part of it.
Yeah, it's amazing how predictable it can be, right? So kind of nearing our time here, I know a little bit, because then I know we're gonna have time in case we have questions at all. But so it's, when I say it's not about the goal, it doesn't mean you shouldn't write goals. You absolutely want to write goals, right? What I'm saying, and I was just speaking to Northwestern Mutual about this. I shared this with Eve the other night. They write their goals and they kind of forget about them, they say, because they don't want people to focus on, I'm supposed to have a 10% lift in my sales, right? What they want people to focus on, be aware of the goal, but we want you to focus on the habits that'll get you to the goal, the process you need to work, right? And then they provide coaching and they coach each other. Sometimes same level people are coaching each other. Every single person, they have, I'm forgetting the term for it, but essentially it's a concept that nobody works alone. No one. And talk about coaching, you never, ever leave the internship. You have to have a role in that company with an intern. You have to. It's the law, right, in their company. Somebody, you're either mentoring an intern or you're speaking to the intern group. You're doing something with an intern because that's the give back they expect for the next group and the next generation to be successful. So, as it says here, it's about the steps in taking ownership of the behaviors, not about the goal. In other words, it's not about the results, but the process. Because if the process is correct, your habits are in place, and you're disciplined about that, you're going to get the desired results. So make the goal, create the goal, but focus on habits and processes. And for your people, their habits and their process. Because if we keep talking about that, you will get the kind of result from your workforce and for your business and for those pets and for those families that you want. You will get what you want. So you guys do amazing work every day. You got to be incredibly proud of yourselves. Not many people can do this work, and it's so valuable. I know I so appreciate every time I go to Eve's site. I'm very thankful for it. I don't know what I would do if it wasn't there. I mean, with my travel schedule the last years have been crazy, so I'm very thankful for that. But and I want to leave you, I think there's one more slide. We'll leave you with a couple other notes, one or two more slides we have here. Kristen, whenever you're ready, dear, that'd be great. So here's my closing. You may feel like you have to, but you do not have a willpower battery that is endless. You will collapse someday, right? You can't be everywhere every day forever. So take stock in yourself, the things we talked about, right? And if you execute on those, and it won't happen overnight, but stay the course on those so that you have some battery left at the end of the day for yourself and your family, because you have a right to do that. We've talked about in a previous one. You have a right to be happy, right? You have a right to have fun outside of work. And while I'm sure you enjoy your work, maybe not every day, but you enjoy your work, right? Your battery is not endless, okay? And other people need you in their lives, right? And you need them in your life, and you need to make time for that. So make sure that this doesn't own you. You might even have to invest a little bit more with some of the things we talked about initially, but the payoff down the road is you won't have to invest as much, right? So we're going to hire smart. We're going to empower that team intelligently so it liberates you, so you don't have to monitor and do everything, and you can enjoy other things and be the entrepreneur and get to that vision that you really wanted, not just part of the vision. You can get all of the vision. And saying yes to some of these things may mean you have to say no to something else. You might have to, because I would guess that most of you want to say yes to everything. Every client request, every employee request that you can, and you can't. Know the difference, right? Know the difference. So take your transformation one success at a time, but absolutely tonight, when you're done, if you do nothing else but make a few key notes and write down a promise to yourself tomorrow that you're going to start journaling this. You're going to map out your process from this PowerPoint once you get it from Eve. Call me if you need help doing it. And let's get you on the right track to this if you're not already. Or if you're already on a good track, let's get you further down the road, right? Further down the track. And let's maximize what we can do for you, because you have so much to offer your employees, those pets, those families, and the communities. Let's make that happen, but let's make something happen for you too. Okay, you have a right to that. So,
Very valid, Rob. Very valid. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kristen, can you go back one more slide? I want to ask Rob to dig in on just a little bit. So when we were talking about the steps and taking ownership of the behaviors to make it about the process, and the process is correct, and we're disciplined about it, we'll get the desired results. So just accumulating everything you talked about. So we get the person in the door and we're touching base with them. You think every 5 days? Every 3
I
days.
would, for the first couple of days, I would do it the first couple of days if you can, if you're there. If you have multiple
Okay.
patients, that becomes hard. But you or your supervisor, manager has to do it each of the first couple of days. The end of it, how did it go? Don't worry, just you'll get this. Alleviate any concerns they have. Thank them for their efforts, promising. And then probably, yes, every few days after that for the first couple of weeks, and then probably again in 30 days or so.
Perfect. Perfect. Just so we can kind of, build in a timeline. And so I have gotten to the point now where I have one of my key staffers who does my training of my staff, my shadowing.
Yep.
And one of the things that we did is the minute we hire them, she's now putting notes in her Google Calendar. So then it alerts her on those days. And if that employee happens to not be working that day, she can just move it to the next day.
Yeah. Yep. It's an active calendar, right? You got an active calendar.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so easy to forget this stuff. You've seen the person now for 2 weeks and then you just kind of like, oh yeah, they're here. They're good.
Right. So let me say this, and I didn't say this before, but the thing you don't want to do is hire somebody, a really good employee, and then not meet their expectations, right? They not only got to meet yours, but meet theirs. In other words, they're owed a right to be trained properly, right? To be demonstrated what the standards are. Otherwise, I don't know how to behave. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know to the level of which I'm supposed to do it. So don't assume they kind of know or they'll kind of get it. Don't allow yourself that luxury. Standardize that training to the extent that you can. You know what your standards are, right? Train to those standards. And then when they hit those standards, make sure you're recognizing it. And if you do that, you're going to be much better off. But take the extra few minutes to map out before you bring that person on board. The worst you can do is have them walk in for the first day and you're not ready for them. Plan for that day, what those first couple of days look like. Plan. You can, maybe you even have a bite to eat with them that day and call in their trainer, and the three you sit down for a few minutes. Really cement that relationship early and demonstrate that you care about them being successful. Nothing better in the world than that.
No, you're right. And I know a lot of us use like Homebase and When I Work, and that was a struggle for us with new hires because they would just like send a message saying, hey, I need this day off. And it's like, no, there's a process.
Right.
You need to ask for it off within 10, prior to 10 days
Right.
of the event. And
but the why is important to that, Eve. So the why isn't just that you need to use a process. The why is that you need to use a process because I want to be fair to you and get your time off if I can.
Correct.
And I can't remember 15 people's requests because each of them have multiple requests. I don't have a brain capacity for 45 requests stored here, right? I just don't. Never did. So to ensure the best chance of you getting that time off, if you use the process, I'd really appreciate you'll get the result you want. The why is so important. It's so important.
Yep.
Then they get it. They say, well, yeah, of course, that makes sense. How can you deny it? Makes sense.
Correct. And that's what we found is, again, meeting their expectation of, well, I need this day off. Yeah, we get it, but this is the process in order to ensure that you do get that.
Right.
So that was a big aha moment for us, was realizing that we weren't meeting their expectation on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was in the employee manual, but we weren't having the conversation, and the conversation was much more valid than reading it in the manual.
Yeah. And they'll appreciate the consistency because then they know the rules of the road, right? They know how to behave and what to expect. And they know next time, if I want that day off, I got to do it X amount of days in France. This is the method of doing it. And I got a better chance of getting it. It's just that simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If any of you have questions, by all means, you can either unmute and unhide yourself or ask them in the chat, and then we'll catch up with them here. That's not a problem. So if I write down the 3 people that I feel are low on my totem pole,
Mm-hmm.
and then I determine number 1, and I get number 1 gone, because I've hired their replacement. So now I can cut their hours and they can self-select out after having a couple conversations. So moving on to number 2, then, kind of that same thing. I'm going to say rinse and repeat. So, grab the person, walk through those same things. Another thing is, have you ever, are or I guess how often do you see number 2 and number 3 turn themselves around? Like I've seen where they behave better for like a month and then they go back to old habits.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a fairly small percentage of that time, but not unheard of, right? It might be only 20, 25%. But if you turn one of the 3 or 4 around, that's a big win for you, right? That's a big win. So, but I would be very clear about what those expectations are, not this, no, I want my job, I need my job. I get that point.
Right.
I'm sorry, it sounds a little harsh, but I'm really not concerned whether you need the job or not, right? I need healthy employees here, right? I need positive employees that are promoting my business well and taking care of my animals. So the fact that you need a job doesn't mean I have to hire you. So, and certainly maintain your employment. So, but I would give everyone, I think it's fair to give everyone a conversation that you're not quite meeting the other needs. So I think you'll get 20, 25% you'll turn around. But I think that you have to be very particular about what that turnaround looks like. It means you need to start doing this. It means you can't do this anymore, right? I'm going to support you if you want to go through this. I'd love to have you, but I think you have to be prepared that, you might get one turned around. You may not have out of 3 or 4, but it's still one, right? And that would be helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's just it. So I was just curious, like how often do we change our mind type of thing. Nick commented, it's always good to have a clear handbook and review the policies and expectations on the first shift. 100%. We actually have even started following up on like day 3, just going over some of those handbook pieces. Is there Rob, is there a best practices when having that employee handbook? I mean, our previous employer, when we worked together, I just remember reading through this going, oh my gosh, what is all this gibberish, is it good to like you have that handbook, but then maybe have a 1 sheet of paper or 2 sheets that are like the most important things, like what's our call out sick policy? What's the expectation of vacation policy? Like the top 10 things. And
if
just
you
have
can't
those
cover it
separate.
all in that time frame, and the odds are you probably can't, you want to know what are those 8 or 9 things that you have to cover, right? They have to know this to function. So so know what that is, know what those are that they absolutely have to know. And I would tell them, if these are the non-negotiable, you got to know this right. I'd like you to read the rest. I really think it's important, but these I got to touch base with you right away. In fact, in your next checkup, I would ask them, I'd bring out those 8 or 9 again, say, any questions on these at all? Because these, again, they're non-negotiable. So, and it doesn't have to be done in a harsh way, right? It's just, I want to set you up for success, right? I want to set you up for success. And I want to go back to your other point too about maybe we only turn 20, 25%, but I would tell you in the years of having, unfortunately, as a job in HR where I have to terminate people's employment, right? I'll bet I could not count with, it would take more than both of my hands, the people that said, thank you for doing it. Because you know what? I just didn't have the courage to leave. I didn't like there. I wasn't a fit there. I'm very happy where I'm at now. That's not a slight on you, right? It just wasn't a fit, right? Maybe you had high expectations. They got lower expectations over there.
Right.
Great. That's where he or she should work. Nothing wrong with that, right? But you don't want to lower your standards just to keep the employee. It doesn't work that way at all. So don't be afraid to do that. Even if it doesn't go well at the time that you do your separation, more times than not, when people leave, they'll realize that was the right thing. And I was the issue. They know it, right? It's just have them not having the courage to leave. So you, as a leader, have to take that and lead them on, right? So, because you're the influencer of the business, right? You're the enabler. You're the one who makes it happen. So if you want that new reality, you got to kind of adopt some of what we talked about here today in that new mentality. New reality, got to have a new mentality to it, new approach to it. Okay, if you're not already. So, and again, anybody I can help, just dial us up and we'll talk through things.
Yeah, so this is how to get a hold of Rob. He's got a great book out there. Definitely read that. Available on Amazon, Rob.
Right now, I'm just putting it on the website at
Perfect.
cultureatwork.net. So www.cultureatwork.net, right there, you can see it, and you can watch a plethora of videos that'll help you through too, to help you talk even more detail of culture. There's about 7 or 8, and they're only a couple minutes each. You can watch them, so it won't take too much of your time. And those are free for you to watch on there. So feel free to do that. And I would encourage something I do every single time on these calls with you too is Your network is everybody who's on this call. Find somebody to talk to and build your plan and work it together. Don't work your plan alone. Work it with somebody, build it. It's much easier. The reason change is so difficult for most people is they try and do it alone. When you do it with a partner, it's much easier. You kind of co-accountability, right, to each other, right? No different than Eve was saying before. She knows I'm going to give her crap about what you were here awful late the other night. She knows that's coming, right?
Yeah.
But at least it keeps her somewhat in balance. So use each other. Your network is so important, so important. You can talk through situations of employees together, share ideas that we didn't cover maybe here. Please, please do that. It's a resource you have to tap into. Your network is so important to you, and they understand your business, right? They understand the intimacy of your business.
Yeah, and that is really key. I mean, I travel to 8 different seminars throughout the year, and the networking with people and creating those friendships so I can comment to different people and ask questions is great. There's a friend of mine down in Detroit, and she actually did a video of her staff saying why they like working for her.
Mhm.
And then that sits out on her website. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
that's smart.
That's awesome. When my day comes and I'm sitting in my rocking chair, the thing that I'll be most proud of is all the relationships that I've built and how many people keep in touch with me from our days at Kaplan and even before. Um, Nicole, she was in like an intern for us, right?
Yep.
It's 15 years later and we still keep in touch, right? I still get a birthday card from her. I still get a Christmas card from her. Those are the things that give you a lot of good feeling about what you're doing. You are raising people in some cases in these businesses and giving them their first real job and setting a foundation for them. So they should be thankful and appreciative of that, but know what you're doing for people beyond just running your business and caring for those dogs. You're giving these people an education, an absolute education. It's an internship, whether you call it that or not. It just is.
No, and that is very valid. That is very valid. We've had vet techs who have said, they learned so much more in our industry by coming to work at a dog daycare environment, which is great. Another question that I had, so I love the ads, by the way, and I love changing those words because I think we all fall victim to, oh my God, we're just hiring. So trying to be real purposeful with that, I think is
Sure.
super important. And then do you feel, so if we put the highlights on Indeed and then direct them to our website where we could maybe have a video where some of our staff talk about why they work for us or have more in-depth information. So you're thinking we need to use the Indeed or the Facebook or whatever, just as the tickler to get them interested and then direct them to a little bit more information.
Well, I'd always direct them to you first directly if you could, because there's no better salesperson than yourself, right? No better magnet than yourself. But if they can get to your website, I would not only have the testimony, but the other thing I would do is have something you celebrate. Like if you had a company Christmas party or holiday party, right? Or you
Yeah.
did something volunteering in the community, you raised money for breast cancer or something like that. And you have those snapshot pictures of the team doing that. It creates a sense of belonging and that you care about the community, something more than just a job. That is a drawn. Pizza Hut a couple years ago did a famous thing that they gave out 1,000 pizzas, I think it was, and they gave out 1,000 pizzas and told some of their employees, where would you like to deliver the pizza, like in your hometown? And they gave all these people, like from this one Pizza Hut, gave out 1,000, and they said, where do you want to deliver it? And they delivered 1,000, and they went around as a group and gave them out throughout the season, right? And the next thing you know, other Pizza Huts started doing it, other franchises and things, and now it's become this company thing that at the holidays, and they film it, and it's all over their website at the holidays. It's amazing because they all dress up, and you're seeing them go to these houses that are all lit up, and you can't help but be engaged about the holiday season then, right? So do some fun things, get creative with it. But that said, I want to take you back. I'd like you go to your desk though, like I say, make some notes today about what you're going to commit to and start working that plan tomorrow. Find yourself a few minutes tomorrow and write out your plan for how you're going to get these hires, what you're going to do when they come in, who's your challenge people that you got to have a conversation with and maybe ultimately have to move on, right? And give them career counseling. What are your standards? Are you training your trainers properly, right? You got to train the trainers too, right? So it's a lot to do up front, but re-grasp that you're the influencer in your business and that it does take action. It takes time, and it's habits, process, keep coaching through both of those, and you'll get to the goals you want to do. You will get to those goals. Maybe not as fast as you like, but you will hit those goals. And the difference will be, is they're sustainable then. Because if you just muscle up and do it yourself, we got to do it yourself next time, it's not sustainable. Incorporate that into your people, right? Empower those people, educate them so that you don't have to do it all yourself. Now you have a sustainable business. You'll train this generation will train the next one, and so on, and life gets easier. And now the rock's rolling down the hill instead of you pushing it up all the time, right? You can only push up for so long, right? Remember, you don't have unlimited battery power, remember? You don't. You might think you do, but you don't. So be good to yourself.
Absolutely.
Keep being
Yeah.
good to yourself.
Steph asked the question, where is everybody posting jobs? So if you could answer in the chat, that would be beneficial. Nick also suggests, Nick, this brings up a good question. So Nick says, respond to applicants within 24 hours.
Absolutely.
We now have ChatGPT and AI and all this stuff that we can automate those things. 24 hours good? Should it be 12 hours? What's a good time frame, Rob?
Soon as possible, but not later than 24 hours. 36 is the absolute max. So, and this brings up a whole nother good point, not only about this, but we talked about setting expectations and standards, people. What are your standards? What are your standards when a new hire comes in? You personally, what is your standards of how to react to that ad when you get somebody? If they sit out there 4 or 5 days, 20 other people already contacted them, right? Now you're in a competition you don't want to be in. So yes, our standard at my last place of employment was 24 hours.
Okay.
24 hours. And that included if they, even if they came in and they were on a Sunday and they posted like that Monday, we're on it right away. We're looking at the Indeed right away on Monday morning.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So to implement all of this, average time frame changing your ads, everybody could do that tomorrow. Right. Identifying identifying the people who are not rowing the boat in the right direction.
Right.
Coming up with a plan on how to exit them and fill that position, who it is that's going to help train your staff, get that assigned, and figure out your strategy to make sure that you're checking in and all those things. Is this a 3-month process, a 6-month process, a 5-year process? Like what's the average? Is there an average?
If it's 3 months, we're going to lose you all and you're not going to stay focused, right? I need you, assuming maybe you're taking a couple of days off around the holiday. I don't know, maybe not, because you're probably busier, right? But
busy.
Yeah. So I would say within 2 weeks after the holiday, so the holiday is what, Thursday? You have to have your plan done, your assessment done of these people. You have to have your recruitment strategy at least built out, maybe not done because you got to order banners, you got to make some changes to your website, things like that. You can't do all that right, but your strategy is locked down and tight, and your commitment to it 2 weeks from the holiday here. Waits any longer, something's going to come up. It always does, and it's going to disrupt your day, and you're never going to get to it. You're going to start putting Post-it notes on things, and it's fluttering off, and you're going to end up doing one of the 5 or 6 things you need to do. And that's about us getting, like I said before, getting better, but not resolving it. We want to resolve it, right? We don't never have to look back. We're going to execute this. Now, once we put the plan in place, yes, you're talking several months in most of these size business. That before you fully start to realize it, then you're going to have to nurture it for a couple more months. But let's say that we're going to go come out of first quarter of next year, which may seem like a long time off, but you're in business a long time. First quarter next year, everybody's starting to roll with you, right? The business, and you're starting to really see the benefits of, right? You're not pushing the rock uphill. You can see it's just about to start rolling downhill then, right? And then you have the long term. Then it's a matter of holding those standards so that the next generation, like say, comes in and sees only those standards. They don't know any different, right? They're trained that way. That's the way they behave. And when you do that, you're going to get known as a really good employer, and you're going to advertise less because you're going to attract those people. You won't be holding up the door, waving them in, please come in, please come in. They're going to be knocking on the door saying, can I come in, right? And that's what you want. That's when you get to be very select, right? And you get the best of best in breed.
100%, 100%. Sherry wants to know, do you think having a job opportunity page on your website is helpful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the biggest thing is, be less on, again, this is doing different what most people do, less on what the job's about. You need to give them what the job's about, you're right, the basics, but more about why they want to work there. Why do I want to work there? they kind of know what the job is, right? It's like hiring an accountant. The accountant knows what he or she has to do, right? Why that company though, right? So give them the 3 or 4 broad strokes, client interaction, you know, help care for dogs, boom, 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 right? But why you want to work here, why we're different? We have fun. We care for pets, right? We care for extended family. We have friends here. You'll make friends here at work, right? Everybody likes to belong. Give them those reasons why they want to work there. They know what the job basically entails. Great
No,
point.
absolutely. It's always interesting.
So don't be afraid to take some of those things that we talked about on those signs, right? And put them on your website, right? So people are
Yeah,
attracted to look at that website, right? Make it a fun website. Show people interacting with each other, with the pets, with the families, right? With your celebratory events that you do, your community events. Make less text, more things I can emotionally connect to visually, right? I connect emotionally through vision, right? So focus on that a lot.
absolutely. So here's the start of my Indeed ad. Do you like the hustle and bustle of restaurant work, but not dealing with the people? Are you an animal lover and want to help us take care of our furry friends?
Yep.
Come work at Fun for Pets. It's fast paced, but with lots of dogs and only a few people.
Yeah, there you go. I'd sign up for that. I'll tell you what, I'll take the animals over the people any day, but and I work with
Right?
resources.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, again, this was some of the advice that we had taken from you, Rob, trying to make it fun, because that's
Yeah.
what we want to promote, that working for us is fun. The type of person that we're looking for is fast paced. And the fact that they get to be with the dogs and with a lot less people, especially if they're in the food service industry. So
I was in Tennessee and I saw somewhere that had one of the dog care places there that had similar to what you're doing. They had the Ghostbusters, the circle around the people with the line through it, like no people, and had the pets and had a big thumbs up by the pet, right? Like that's all you got to deal with is this, right? So, and that's all they had, that in their name. That was it. That was their only message.
right. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, we do have clients, but I think our industry is a little rare in the sense of it's a privilege to bring your pet to a dog daycare and boarding facility. And so we can be more picky on the clients that we take in. And I think our clients also appreciate our staff way more than almost any other service industry out there.
Well, again, I would liken it to having done time and looked a little bit in care centers and things like that. It's no different than, I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to equate it to people, but it's a very similar emotion, right? You're leaving them, entrusting somebody to care for your part of your family. So, like I say, between Arnie and Maya, I mean, it's 29 years we've had them, right? I mean, that's a long time. Those dogs have roamed this house, and you wouldn't entrust them to just anybody. You just wouldn't. So I think you guys do special work, and think about it. But don't think that too, that you're only the big companies get the best people. Don't think that way at all. That is not accurate, right? You can get the best of the best. You absolutely can. You'll treat them fine, I'm sure, but we got to just get them to your door, right? So let's get creative
Yes,
on how we do that. And again, anything I can do to help, just please, they should reach out. We can have a conversation.
100%.
Okay.
All right. So I want to thank you, Rob. Thank everybody
Yeah.
else for joining us. Certainly when you get this email, if you have an HR manager, you just have an upper level manager that helps you out. You need a virtual assistant that helps you out. All of those things are great, and definitely be sure to let them have the two of you rewatch a replay together and have conversation, because everybody needs to be rowing that boat in the same direction. That's onboarding your staff, that's helping you recruit your staff. Super, super, super important. So
You got to
thank you,
believe it.
Mr.
If you
Rob.
want them to believe it, you got to
Yes,
believe it.
100%, 100%. Yes. So
Thank
thank
you.
you, Rob, and thank you, everybody. And you all have a fabulous night.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.